Wow. I don't know where to start from.
I mean, it's a sad day for Africa, footballing-wise, because two great African nations, after battling so hard, after having the opportunities in their hand, let it slip away. And it's a metaphor for how we have squandered our goodwill as a continent in terms of resources. We should be punching above our weight. We shouldn't be where we are today. But alas, the true champions of Africa, not the CAF-appointed champions of Africa, the true champions of Africa, Teranga Lions of Senegal, were this close to making it to the round of 16 yesterday at the FIFA World Cup. And they blew it away. I mean, talk about...
Benga, I woke up this morning, I was angry. I was angry for two things. One, I stayed up late, knowing I have to be here this morning.
To watch the match.
To watch the match.
No, you were doing your job, of course.
I was jubilating, I was excited, I was saying, yes, finally, an African country has done us proud. I do not understand if, I would say this, I mean, let me go back to being a sports journalist. Lack of experience showed in that game. When you lead 2-0 most times, it's that time where you call it quits. Protect, defend, put your men, your strongest men at the middle. And of course, like they say, pack the bus as far as you can from the back. Have one striker do the running so that you can put in some in-swingers, whether you like it or not.
Football is the result that matters.
But what I saw was the Senegalese team kept playing like, oh, don't worry, we're 2-0. It's fine, we've won already. Let's keep playing the same way we're playing.
Nah.
I woke up, I was angry this morning. I had to tell myself, wait, it's just football. Let it go.
You know, I decided to go to bed when it was 15 minutes to go. And I just checked the scores online. I didn't even see 2-1. I saw 2-2. How? As how now? They couldn't even wait for penalties.
We're so sorry, to have seen that. But well done to everyone who's made it so far. To every African country except... to every African country that made it to the World Cup.
Even
Congo. Let's not express our bias and sentiment. Anyway, welcome to Breakfast Central. If this is your first time joining us on the show, this is Breakfast Central. We take you through the biggest stories in Nigeria for 3 hours from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We kickstart with wake-up conversations where we share certain conversations that have trended in the past 24 hours. We also take your comments on X as well as on YouTube where we're streaming live on News Central TV Live. I am Olive Emodi and to my right is Joe Hansen. To my left is Benga Aborowa. These are the great men that I have the honor of working with every day.
Very great men. And
very great men.
Today is not Wednesday, but you're my woman crush Thursday. You're looking very regal this morning.
Resplendent.
Very splendid. You're giving the vibes of a historical figure, someone like...
I know who you're going to say.
Wife of Mungo Park, Lady Mungo Park.
Okay.
I even thought you were going to say Lady Lugard.
Look like you discovered...
No, you don't have the hat.
River Niger.
You have the hat and the, what's it called? What's that thing called?
Fascinating.
I don't know. Maybe look like Bridget. What do they call that?
Bridgerton.
No,
I don't watch it.
Thank you for the compliments, gentlemen. It's always great to be here with you. Let's start with some very unsettling news. Chaos erupted at Osun State University, UNIOSUN Osogbo campus on Monday night as trainee soldiers from the nearby army depot allegedly stormed multiple student hostels, including Crystal Lag and Kings and Queens lodgings. Witnesses reported that the soldiers assaulted female students, harassed male students, and carted away mobile phones, according to the reports that were there. Some students claimed that they were stripped and placed on the wall and indecently touched, while others recounted being beaten and forced to surrender valuables. The university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Clement Adebooye, described the incident as gory and condemned the soldiers' actions, stressing that the army deportants, seen as a source of security, had instead become a threat to the campus community. Let's take a look at this video.
We are truly wounded. As a father, as a Nigerian, as a Nigerian, I will say you should continue this for a whole day. Let the state, I don't mean Osun State, I mean the federal government of Nigeria, know that the people we have recruited to protect us have turned around to become our enemy. The people we have recruited created to help us to safeguard our society have become threats to our peace as a people. The people we are supposed to call upon when we are under security threat have actually themselves become security threats against us. Yes, sir. This is not acceptable in any nation. Yes, sir. And it should not be acceptable in our university. Yes, sir. And should not be acceptable in Osogbo and in Osun State. Yes, sir. Therefore, the military top echelon has reached out to us. They actually came to campus this morning. 5 of the soldiers have been arrested. Good. Yes. Good. Ebola. 5 of them have been apprehended. We note that they raped our students. Yes. They harassed them sexually.
My hostel came when I noticed they were around. Later, everything died down and we started hearing noise again. They started running their toys, they started pointing their torch to my room. And I was like, who is there and why are you doing this? The next thing, they asked me to come open my door. I opened the door and it was like, how many are we that we are inside? How many are we inside the room? And I was like, we are 2. My roommate was not around. Then I'm the only one inside the room. He pinned me to my room's toilet door. He pinned me to the door, and he was like, I'm going to like it that I should not shout. That is anything that is done, I should not shout. And I was like, issue, please. I had to look for a way to get out of his room and move to the door. Moving to the door, I was like, you should move out. And he said, did I want to close the door? That I should close it. One of them came in, his colleague, one of them came in with him and was like, I should calm down. That I would like it, I should not shout. That I just had to. And when they moved, I shouted, I screamed. So when I screamed, they moved out. The 2 of them, they moved out. And I had to use force to close the door. After closing the door, they came, one of my hostel mates that was there, he was the one that came to knock the door and he checked up on me. After that, he left.
Okay. Before we get into our reactions, let's first mention that the Nigerian army has responded. We do have the response. Winga will take us through that to hear what they have said. Then we will come and see what we're saying. But you can also go to YouTube. We're streaming live on News Central TV Live. You can share your thoughts there.
So this statement that is posted on Nigerian Army, HQ Nigerian Army on Instagram, the Nigerian Army's official page, and it has the insignia of Depot Nigerian Army, Osogbo, which these soldiers have claimed to be their unit. That's where they are serving, and Depot Osogbo. It says the subject is appeal for calm and commitment to justice regarding allegations by NAN's Southwest Zone. The Commandant Depot Nigerian Army Osogbo has noted with concern the press release by the National Association of Nigerian Students Southwest Zone D. The depot wishes to reiterate that the Nigerian Army exists to protect all citizens, especially the youth who are the future of the nation. Any conduct that falls short of that mandate is unacceptable. No student or law-abiding citizen should ever feel unsafe or be subjected to harassment, intimidation, or assault by those entrusted with the security of lives and property. In line with the military regulations and the values of the Nigerian Army, the Commandant has ordered the investigation to ascertain the facts of the incident and bring perpetrators to justice. The NAN's Southwest Coordinator, Comrade Adeyemo Josiah Kayode, has kindly requested to make available all evidence and witness statements to enable thorough investigation into the incident. The Depot Nigerian Army Osogbo remains committed to ensuring that its personnel are held to the highest standards at all times. The alleged actions of the personnel do not reflect the training and character development of recruits at the depot. We therefore give firm assurance that any personnel found guilty will face the full weight of the military law. The commandant is ready to meet with the NANS leadership at the earliest convenience to agree on the way forward. Signed, Major Yahya Ibrahim, Army Public Relations Officer, Depot Nigerian Army, Osogbo. Signed June 30.
Okay, interesting. My first reaction to that is, first of all, what a shame. What a shame on us as a people that we have we've fallen so low to the level that the people who should be protecting us are the ones that are abusing us. What a shame. We've seen the statement from the Vice-Chancellor. We've seen a student give her eyewitness account. And I don't know that the army is angry enough for me. I don't know that the reaction of the army is swift and angry enough, because the truth is, if the reverse were the case, where a civilian or even some other law enforcement agent went to the army barracks and constituted mayhem, the army will not waste time to rain down hellfire on these people. They will not waste time to deal with them. So the army is not angry enough with how these young people were treated. We're waiting. It's one day now. This happened on Monday. Today is what? A Thursday. How many days in between? When are we going to get feedback? Investigations, they've asked for NANS to present investigation. In fact, the army officials, is not enough for them to be dismissed. That is not punishment enough. They should be handed over to the civilian police.
Authorities.
Yes. I don't know why they're still... They should not be with the army anymore.
Regular people commit that sort of crime, you will go to jail. So
exactly. They should be handed over to the civilian police. There should be investigation, and these people should be made to face jail. And again, it also goes to show the power of the average Nigerian. Joe always says that Nigeria is Nigeria's problem. We have a little power, and we become so bloated. You are a trainee, and the next thing you think about is to go and be a criminal, to go and steal and sexually assault, because you have small power. And that power, we see it evident in the estates that have security at the gate. We see it evident with people, security officials. Small power like this, we get so easily intoxicated. Fundamentally, we already have that challenge as a nation. But we're calling on the Nigerian army to act swiftly, because they're not acting swiftly enough for a crime that occurred on Monday. Today is Thursday. That's 3 days after. Before the end of the week, the army should be able to provide these people to ensure that not only are they dismissed from the army, they are handed over to the police, investigation happens, they are charged before a court, and that case is even given a speedy trial. All the evidence is gathered and it's given a speedy trial. They're not angry enough. And this is embarrassing. We should be ashamed of ourselves that the things that we're saying that bandits should be the ones doing, or the things that bandits will typically do, are the ones that our army, our trainees, are doing. It's a shame. I
mean, it's a shame, and it's hugely disappointing that this is coming from men that are meant to be professional soldiers of the Nigerian army. It's a stain on the reputation of the Nigerian army, and the only way the Nigerian army can win back some sort of win from this is how they make an example of these soldiers that have desecrated the uniform, because this is not the ethos. It doesn't reflect the ethos and code of conduct of the Nigerian army. It's very, very unfortunate. And it just goes to show the lack of discipline and the breakdown of order within the army, which is quite unfortunate. It's one thing to commit a crime. It's another thing. It's one thing to think of committing a crime. It's another thing to think, okay, in 2026, I can do all of these things and get away with it. Even in the height of the military governments that we've had in Nigeria, no senior officer or no professional soldier will condone this sort of character. They are not trained to act like monsters like this. You go around sexually harassing civilians, oppressing them under what orders. No commander or officer would give this sort of orders. So these are rogue soldiers, and they do not deserve to put on the uniform of the Nigerian army again. And I trust the commandant of Depot Nigerian Army, Brigadier General Buhari Madaki, to nip this in the bud, and this will be a warning to all officers and soldiers of the Nigerian army that such conduct will not be tolerated again. An example, a swift example. I mean, time is of the essence, needs to be made of these individuals. They need to face orderly room trial. They need to be dismissed from the army and also be handed over to civilian authorities for prosecution.
Well said, guys. Whether you like it or not, it's a sad story. And when you read through it, you watch that video, you ask yourself, what could have necessitated this particular move? Or who would have done this job and feel like nothing will happen? And that's exactly where we found ourselves as a country, where people can decide to just take the bull by the horn and do whatever they want to do. They do not care because maybe they've seen others do it and they feel, you know what, we are also emboldened to do the same. But I'm not going to speak so much because we have another story to look into. But this particular story, we're going to add it to our list of waiting stories. When we say waiting stories, we're waiting to see what will happen. We have so many of them, guys, in that bag. We have the Hadi Sirika. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for Hadi Sirika's update. We're still waiting for the White Lion, the EFCC. He came to ask that his case should be dropped. We're still waiting for the persecution and, of course, the prosecution, rather, of those who had committed heinous crimes against humanity. There's so many of them. We're still waiting for them. We're going to list them out. This one falls into that. We'll wait to see what the government will do. Unfortunately,
and also the soldiers
silent so far, so good.
From Brigade of Guards unit in Abuja, that skilled offense that ended the life.
Exactly. Exactly. We still have that story. The soldiers that unalived that young man. Have you seen? There's no update on that. So, maybe what we're going to do here to help Nigerians is we're going to buy out time, list all of these pending stories, and then bring them out so that Nigerians will know that as journalists and, of course, as a news media house, our job is to ensure that we hold every single agency or government parastatals accountable so that we get to see what they're going to do. But let's see what Nigerians are saying on X here this morning concerning this story. Very sad. Abiodun says the dysfunction in this country is so bad to the point that there's a huge possibility that this was done, the soldiers truly, and there's also a possibility that this really grievous act was committed by people camouflaging as soldiers. It's that sad. Well, they've confirmed that they were soldiers. We're waiting to see what further confirmation would actually prove. So there's no need to say camouflage. You can never predict what news you will wake up to in the morning. My brother, my sister, your name again? Because when we come up on wake-up conversations, we are waking up to these stories. Honestly. And we are also shocked equally, just as you are. After working in Nigeria, everybody needs to enroll in therapy. Make government bulk pay therapists.
Honestly.
If you know what we go through here, you will know that. I'm glad even at New Central, we do have therapists to help as journalists.
Needs therapists.
Nigerian
therapists, they also need a therapist.
Yes, even if you go to therapist and say, I'm going through a lot. Therapists will tell you, even me,
my brother.
Everybody's going through a lot.
At least let's African brotherhood, let Cotonou therapists help Nigerian
therapists. Exactly. We should contract the therapy out because the stories we hear.
Because me, I don't trust Nigerian therapy. Are you not in the system?
I really don't.
No, but they're trained professionally to be able to put their emotions aside.
I'm also trained professionally. Do you know how much all this bad news affects us?
I know.
Does it not affect you?
It does a lot, actually.
It's sad. I don't know if we have more tweets. Let's quickly take that so we can move on to our next story.
Do Breakfast Central in Cotonou for some weeks.
Benga, relax. Back in the days, Abefele used to help us even chase boys from IB, Ibadan.
Who is Abefele, please?
That Ibadan.
The brother of Emefiele.
That will climb fence into our hall to come and steal. Now, military or people disguised, military are harassing students in their hostel. That's what she says. If you go back to Ibadan, you understand. Abefele. This is an eyesore, man. The impunity and injustice in this country is just so much, man. I mean, there's men, like, it's painful. It shows you the exclamation. People that are meant to protect our lives are the ones harming us. You know, I want to, just as we move to the next story, I want to ask, just recently, not NAFDAC, what's it called? Former governor, Buba Marwa's, what's it called?
Yeah, NDLEA.
NDLEA had said they were going to conduct tests, even on secondary students, pupils, before even the university. But I want to ask a question. Do they conduct same tests to those who they enroll into the military?
Who will bear arms?
Who will bear arms, even the policemen. Because you see some policemen who are, in quotes, not all of them, some of them who are stoned. And when they talk to you, talk to them, you could smell the alcohol. And you ask yourself, who is conducting the test? And it shouldn't just be one-off. It should be done regularly. But away from that sad story, like we said, we're going to add that to our inside the books. And we'll keep
and
checking
just
on
to
that.
add one more thing, in the desperation, because it was also in the news a few days ago that they're going to recruit, I think, 28,000 officers. In our desperation of, trying to find security succor to the insecurity in the country, let's be careful not to forget to do background checks, and let's not lower the standards, because this sort of stories, they never used to occur before. So it begs the question, what's the recruitment process? How disciplined are these people? And discipline is not just discipline in waking up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. and running 10 miles. Discipline also has to do with your code of conduct and the character of your brain, your IQ. So they also need to focus on that. Civilian military relationship classes should be ongoing.
Absolutely. But let's move on to our next story now. Just in case you're watching, you may be part of those or one of those who had heard that the EFCC was looking for a former minister. Yes, actually it was the former Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, the one who actually was told to vacate office for, in quotes, forging his certificates. And we're talking about...
was he really asked to vacate, or he voluntarily resigned?
There were different stories to it, and we're coming to that. Former Minister Uche Nnaji was said to be wanted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. You may wonder, why were they looking for him? Well, in a sad, or you'd say unbelievable twist, I think we should have a song or a bird that sounds very loud and not shocking anymore to us, because this is starting to look like a comedy scene.
I have a lot to say about it. But
yes, this is starting to look like a comedy scene. The man you see there on the screen eventually had to leave his office for forging his certificate, saying he went to a certain university. The university said, Oga, we don't have proof that you came here. But that's not all. After he had vacated or left office, guess what? Just a few months ago, the same former minister who was actually, caught for forgery decided to go into a race to run for the PDP governorship candidate, PDP in Enugu. And guess what? He polled 7,424 votes. And he was interviewed and said, yes, I have money, according to his statement, because I do have the video. He said, I have money. I don't really need the money. I don't need 8 years. I just want 4 years to run. What Jim Wobodo had done is the last benefit the people of Enugu had gotten. Therefore, I'm going to come here to change things. And very little, I would say very little Nigerians, that's a small crowd, not all, because many were supporting him. And I wonder how we continue in this manner. A little set or a subset of Nigerians were now saying, Oga, are you not the same person who is actually going through a serious crime or a case against the anti-graft agency?
How did the party even
How did you get on the ballot? How did you win? How did you poll 7,000? And he said, don't worry, he said it was his enemies. Now, that's not all.
Certificate.
The next thing he said was, I give glory to God. God has called me to help the people. Benga. Are we in a
So there are
comedy
multiple
land?
layers, and
What is going
it's
on?
very funny, and it's comedic. And what DSS is doing now is just it's an afterthought. The day this man dropped his resignation letter,
He should have been picked up that day.
Immediately.
If they were really serious,
If
that
they
day.
were serious, what's the meaning of all of this? I mean, is it that the law is an afterthought? Because I don't understand the meaning of all this media drama that is wanted and this and that. Were you not at the Council of State meeting? Are DSS operatives not in every local government in Nigeria? Is this man a ghost? When he was picking up his PDP senatorial form,
and taking pictures.
And taking pictures. He was a free man. It's not like you declared him wanted or a person of interest and he didn't show up. So what's the meaning of all of this? And this just goes to show how much our value system has been eroded. Because it's one thing for you to think of a crime in your mind. Okay, I'm going to do this. But you haven't carried it out. Then to have the audacity. So after thinking about it, you now act on your thoughts that, look, we live in a lawless country. I can get away with this. That's the same thing that happened to the soldiers in Osogbo, that what could happen. So when people do not fear consequences, it means we're in a serious situation. Because this minister that should have just gone into retirement to bury his head in shame. Or hide. Because what he even did is what is a crime in the first place.
But is he any different from the likes of Yahaya Bello, for example?
Or Hadi Sirika also picked a
That's what precedent set. Because that's why they had thought it in their head and they said, I'll get away with it. And one of the things that probably convinced them in their head that, I can act on this thought of crime I'm going to commit is because I have examples now. They will point to all these people.
There's Hadi Sirika there who also picked a
me too, I can get away with it. And it's also an indictment on our political parties, the type of people they accept in their folds. We have an active justice minister, a former Attorney General of the Federation, that had property seizures all around the country. And
he still picked a form too.
He picked a form. He's a member of the political party. And I put it to the spokesperson of this party. I said, what kind of funny characters do you have? Their excuses, it's a game of politics and it's a game of numbers. That's why you should have criminals and questionable character.
So can we rightly say that?
It just goes along to
play politics. Politics comes with criminology.
It doesn't.
Is that what we're going to say now?
It doesn't.
Or there's a taint. You must have a taint.
Was it not the same parliamentarians that passed the law in this amendment act that presentation of forged certificates
should not be a ground for disqualification or being,
Imagine, what's the point of going to school then? What's the point of acquiring certificates?
Can you link this to the first story now, why those lads will behave the way they behave?
It's sad.
So
we need to
we have a culture, again, just to highlight, you both have said it all, but just to highlight that we have a culture of impunity where actions do not really have consequences. When we become a nation where we institute consequences for actions, and that these consequences are not just restricted to a certain class of society, that both those in the lower cadre and those in the higher cadre, the upper echelons of society, also understand that their actions have consequences, then we're not yet ready to be able to deal with this. When the case of Uche Nnaji came up, there were other people who were in the news at that time as well. Betta Edu. Betta Edu was in the news, and the question was, what happened? The only thing we heard of Betta Edu was she was asked to step aside. Until date, we don't know what happened. The government needs to understand that it owes citizens explanation. It's not enough to fire someone or to tell them to relinquish their office. We need to know, was the allegation against them true? Was it a lie? Was it false? Was it a malicious allegation instituted against them? If it was true, what is the position of the law regarding that? Let them face the law. But ours is a country where people have allegations against them, criminal allegations, and some would argue with maybe strong evidence pointing to that, yet they'll buy tickets for the next election.
Imagine.
It's like insulting the intelligence of Nigerians, almost like a damning situation of nothing will happen about it. They are damning the consequences.
This Mr. Uche Nnaji is multiple insults. He was a federal minister. He drew salary. He awarded contracts. He just resigned. He committed a crime on false grounds.
He resigned.
He should,
exactly.
Yeah, and he should return all the benefits and salaries that accrued to him as a federal minister.
Have the others returned their own?
They should make an example of somebody.
Okay.
Number two, you didn't just only forge UNN certificate. You went ahead to forge NYSC certificate. Please, let's have his NYSC certificate up. I did some investigative journalism this morning, some fact-finding. Look at that certificate. National Director,
GPT.
Yeah.
1986, National Director,
Otumba Gbenga Daniel.
Number one, Otumba Gbenga Daniel was never a National Director of NYSC.
Kai.
He was, in 1986, the Deputy Manager at H.F. Schroeder West Africa Limited, a multinational engineering company in Lagos, having joined the firm in 1983. So how did he sign your form in 1986, Mr. Nnaji?
Gbenga.
I think
you see,
the brazenness of this, then you want to even look for national director. You didn't go and look for Mr. Jumbu or just one fictitious name. You put the name of a former governor, someone that is a politically exposed person. They're not even thorough in their criminality.
Binga, this is what we get. And this is why we're asking, is the current administration solving the issues of corruption? Or is it aiding and abating
problem.
The issues of corruption?
It's an institutional problem. But the current administration, which is currently on the scene, because these institutions will be there for eternity. Its government is a continuum. So we need to have institutions act independently and thoroughly and professionally. You don't need a directive. You don't need a political witch hunt before you go after certain people. And the law should be blind. If somebody has committed a crime, regardless of what party they believe in, they are in, or what political affiliations they have, you should go ahead and prosecute them.
It's sad. It's sad. But this has led to a major conversation which is trending right now, and I'm sure Nigerians are waiting. We're going to touch on it tomorrow because we want to take our time to have the experts join us in the studio here. It's actually hashtag Bajagate.
I wanted to say Bajagate.
It's hashtag Bajagate because this one is we wouldn't say it is one of the biggest, whatever you want to call it. Many have called it scam, the biggest foolery, the biggest what? If you've not heard of Bajagate, we'll give you a little hint on what it is.
Yeah, Prince Adeyemi Matthew, who is the alleged Director General of an organization referred to as a Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, PFIPC, also linked to a Presidential Economic Advisory Council, PEAC, has accused the Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, of demanding 27.4 billion naira from the takeoff grant of the agency and collecting 400 million naira through proxies, yes, to secure his appointment as Director General. All of this came to light when there were allegations of certain meetings being had with ambassadors, foreign nationals, and it's almost like, who are you to organize this meeting? In what capacity are you organizing this meeting? So the issue was Matthew called for an independent investigative panel, including civil society and international organizations, compelling Gbajabiamila to step aside and make findings public. This wasn't dismissed outrightly because there was a cable report that reportedly found the PEAC, that's the PFIPC, listed under the presidency in the 2026 budget with an allocation exceeding 1.3 billion naira. Bayo Onanuga has now come to issue a detailed response. Bayo
Onanuga's story does not hold water. I'm sorry. This morning, please put the camera on our face.
You are not the accused now. Let the man speak. Put the camera on our face, Mr.
Let
the man speak for himself.
Dear Mr. Bayo Onanuga, please, we want to happily share with you that long episode in which you wrote on X yesterday has further complicated the issues. What Mr. Bayo Onanuga wrote yesterday has now further complicated the matter and has further made it clear that they are complicit. Dear Mr. Bayo Onanuga, I hope you are aware that this same prince has pictures and images that involves a lot of politicians where they were shaking hands and there are letters that were being shared. So that explanation of, oh no, it's a fake body, this is that. Let me mention one. The same Olive Benga and to Nigerians. This same man has an office, okay? He has an account with the CBN, not one account. He has a functioning account with the CBN. He has 300 plus staff. He has an office at the Federal Secretariat. There's office there. That's not all. His budget is inside the presidential allocation, the budget that the president presented. His money is there. And this, so are you telling me that this man
spoken to that? They've done rebuttals on a lot of things, but how this became a part of the budget hasn't yet been spoken about. And that is like the strongest evidence or the strongest criticism.
He also collaborated with the EFCC. There are images, there are events. He worked there's collaboration with the EFCC. He's hosting foreign investors. My goodness.
We'll go into this later in detail, but just to also mention to you that you can drop your comments. I'm seeing more Kwenyechukwu saying Bajagate is the Ogak Patapata of demo. Keep your comments coming on YouTube. Let's share with you what the headlines are this morning as we have the Commissioner of Environment, Lagos State, joining us. Mr. Tokunbo Wahab is coming. We're having a one-on-one with the Lagos State Commissioner of Environment. Let's talk about these floods. So the questions that you have, keep them coming. We're streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Would be having him speak about the Lagos environmental crisis. And then we'll be talking about what the Taiwo Oyedele had said. He said Nigeria has progressed to economic stability. Do you agree? 5 marks. Akpabio, others retain senatorial seats under APC. Is it safe to say congratulations are in order? Governor Yebanji promises inclusive governance and state police. This is, of course, the Ekiti gubernatorial poll aftermath. The front pages of the newspaper form a core part of our show with our analysts and with you, because at that point we open the phone lines. So please stay with us. Nigeria's economic outlook is once again at the center of national debate following two contrasting assessments of the country's fiscal and macroeconomic trajectory. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, says Nigeria has moved from a period of economic decline to one of stability, pointing to reforms in taxation, exchange rate management and public finance as evidence that the economy is on a stronger footing. He argues that while challenges remain, key indicators suggest the country is laying the foundation for sustainable growth.
Well, at the same time, the International Monetary Fund has expressed concern over unrecorded government spending in Nigeria's recent fiscal accounts, warning that gaps in public financial reporting could undermine transparency, fiscal discipline and investor confidence if left unresolved, just like the one we talked about here, the one that's trending #Bajagate, which we've not seen where the funds were going to. But anyway, together, these developments raise important questions about the true state of the Nigerian economy. Are recent reforms beginning to yield measurable results, or do concerns over fiscal accountability suggest that significant structural challenges remain? Well, this morning, we're joined by an expert. Yes, you can call him that. Now, he's the chief economist at SPM Professionals. Dr. Paul Elaje joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here and looking forward to dissect this story with you.
Thank you so very much for having me. A beautiful morning to you and all your viewers around the world.
Great. Well, here we are. We have the minister saying that Nigeria has moved from economic decline to stability. We also heard that same statement made a few months ago before he resumed office, that Nigeria is now stable, until the former minister who had vacated office before he took charge said, no, we still have some deficits here and there. Can we take his words and accept that, yes, we've moved on, we're doing well, we're in a better place? From your economic perspective, are we in a better place?
Okay, thank you so much. I will try and provide very unemotional, very passionate, and very truthful position of our country. And you understand that with me, what I will tell you is nothing but the truth. Nigeria had gone into major economic crisis. I think the cap of it all was 2023, when exchange rates went haywire, and 2024 January, as we had predicted, it went to about 1,900, even though our prediction was about 1,500. Inflation went to all-time high at nearly 40%. It surpassed 34%. We also had unemployment that went to 33.1%, and it was quite high. We have seen trade deficit month on month. So those were major economic indicators. Now, that's talking macroeconomics. Macroeconomics may not make so much sense to most of your viewers at home and those that are watching online, and those that are watching the future. We need to compare this with what is happening at micro. What does that mean to you? How much do you buy food? How much do you put gas in your car? How much do you transport yourself? When you look at your income, vis-a-vis how much you pay for your house rent, would you say it's better off or worse off? If house rent increases and your earning also increase, would you say it's better the way your earning is compared to what your house rent is? Would you say today there are more options for you for going to school, sending your children to school, means of transportation, road, by rail, or would you say that it was better off before? Would you say to buy food, meal, Would you say to buy sachet water, to fly air ticket, and so on and so forth? So we cannot take one in isolation by saying, oh, this is what the prices are. You also need to look at your income, what you use to satisfy the same. So Nigeria was in a complete economic mess. Now government came and said, we understand why we have some of the challenges, and I will be balanced and be fair. The first reason was that our revenue is now used to pay subsidy. And I know that your station covered widely. 6.6 trillion naira was what Nigeria used to pay subsidy. I mean, unfortunately, this government came and abruptly removed subsidy, no plan for safety net for the extremely poor at the time, which were 130 million people. The number today is 141 million people. Now, the minister said that Nigeria has got into economic stability. What is economic stability? It's at a point where you can now predict number, when there are no fluctuations. Have we gotten there? I can tell you yes. Because when you look at inflation number, it has remained around 15, less than 16% per month. That's economic stability. We call it price stability in economics. Then you can also look at exchange rate. Exchange rate has remained between 1,350 to less than 1,400 to 1,450 for a while now, for some months now. That's also exchange rate stability. And you can also look at our GDP. It's been between 3 to 4% for a while now. So we can also have relative stability. But can we now say that has brought us everything has returned to normal? The answer is no. Can we say that we have gotten to prosperity? The answer is no. Can we say that we are at a comfortable place, or we have now gotten to Uru? The answer is no. Why? Because all of these macroeconomic parameters that is not reflecting on household consumption, that is not reflecting on security, that is not reflecting on progress, we call them growth without impact. We call them numbers adjustment, inflationary adjustment without impact. What government needs to do very quickly will be, how do we ensure that all of this impact? Because, and I can tell you again, people say we made projections, but go and check all the projections, they hardly fail. In the next 2 years, you might see, between now and 2 years' time, you might see Nigerian Labour Congress coming to fight for more wage. Not because their leaders wants to be rebellious, even though I've advised on the alternative things they can do. But what they will call for is that suddenly 70,000 naira, if you put it times 12, and you say you have 840,000 naira thereabout, the question is, what kind of house can he get for a man that has a wife and 2 children? Normally, we should be talking of 4 children. What kind of house can he give them in Lagos? What kind of house can he give them in Abuja? What kind of house can he give them in Port Harcourt? What kind of house can he give them in Kano? What kind of house can he give them in Ibadan and in Warri as well as Owerri? Now, let me limit it to those states alone. Now, if you check, if you go by transport, whether you want to call it along, as we call it in Abuja, or Kabu Kabu, as they call it in some part of Southwest, or they call it a taxi or keke or okada, how will that be enough for a man who wants to change his child to school? We understand the state of our public school. The thing is that the impact is largely missing. The numbers converge. For some, we have rebased and we have seen some level of improvement. For others, we have adjusted and we have seen some level of improvement. For our reserve, we have seen it has grown to about $51 billion. The question is, has that helped to improve output in terms of production for manufacturers? Has that helped to improve jobs? Has that helped to largely mitigate the impact? And perhaps that is why IMF is saying that Nigeria sees a major economic crisis. Because at the end of the day, ask me, why am I an economist? It's for improvement in the life of the people. So if you look at what the minister has said, on one hand, economic theory says that, yes, we have moved away from what affects both micro and macro. Government revenue is available, which is very correct. So the minister is likely correct when he's talking about stability. But stability is saying in economics and applied economics, even those who, because we economists, we have different philosophy. I'm a Keynesian by practice. But most economists we have around, they are neoclassical. In fact, some persons are not even economics at all. So, but at least for those that are economists, which I respect, they are neoclassical, some of them are classical. But as a Keynesian, we look at things a bit differently. Our focus is more on applied. How does it affect household? How does it affect businesses? And of course, how does it affect even government? Because government revenue has seen surge sporadically. Right. But the question is, why are we not then having impact And even government expenditure has improved sporadically, just the way the income has increased.
All right, the growth without impact, you speak about it in terms of, you know, the effect we're seeing in the macro and how it's not maybe being translated into Nigeria's everyday reality. And yes, whenever we hear statements like this, Nigerians will always push back because they can't feel the effect. And when you speak with government, they always tell you, wait, give us time. How much is reasonable time to be able to see that growth that will be accompanied with impact?
Now, it depends on commitment. Unfortunately, Nigeria Constitution has not been very helpful in this regard. We are supposed to have local government. In serious countries, most of which I've been to, the local authority, the state authority, and in rare occasions, the federal authority manages things that affect people directly. I'll give you an instance. Rail. Who is supposed to manage rail? So we have the rail, we have the federal rail system. Recently, we are trying to extend this to states. My concern is if we don't fund that agency, transport takes money out of people, and you don't have an economy if people are not moving. Imagine that all of us, nobody showed up in your office today. Imagine, and we don't want to rely online. And people that are even watching us, they are not going to leave their houses. Imagine nobody traveled to America to go and play World Cup, and they want to play online. Everybody is playing online. Does that make sense? So an economy that is not moving will soon collapse. And how can poor people or the below middle class move? From most parts of the world, they move one via mass transit, they move two via rail system. What has happened to ours? What are the critical roads where people move? That is the area where impact will be first. Two is our energy sector. If we don't fix this critical sector, and I mean rail system, I mean major corridor where people travel, and thirdly, energy. All other sectors are important, education, health, and the rest. But I'm saying where we need to pay attention, where the incumbent will be remembered really very quickly, is in these regards. And I have been saying this over and over and over again. There is even more research that proves that if you can impact this, you are going to see it in the overall economy. So if there is no impact at all, for those of us that speak Dogon Turunchi, as we say it in the north, that's big English. We might understand, yeah, we've seen some macro adjustment, but how do you explain it to Megoro? How do you explain it to Merua? How do you explain it to Alalubosa? How do you explain it to Yalata? Those are the real challenges that we have here. So government will say what they are seeing in terms of what the publication, what the books is saying, but the people will say, my port cannot lie to me. He has told me I have to skip once a day or I have to skip twice a day, or twice a day, that's meal. And some ports have told people you have to skip a day, come back next day.
Now, Dr. Alaje, the International Monetary Fund has raised concerns about unrecorded government spending. I believe the Nigerian Constitution also has provisions for the government to also responsible financial report it. How significant is this issue, and what are some of the effects of not transparently recording government spending?
Well, I think it's a fiscal crime. If government spending is not recorded, I think it's a fiscal crime. And I can tell you that this will eventually damage our financial system. And I think also that with what we are seeing online and the report that is flowing in, I think yesterday most especially, we have started seeing some report online stating financial misappropriation and so on and so forth. What I know is that we have an institution who perhaps will investigate that and publish the report or make known to public what exactly happened. But I can tell you that IMF had major worries. We have also seen World Bank report regarding some revenue that we generated. And most of these have implication on a lot of things. Number one, investors' confidence. Recall that last year or 2 years ago, the president has been going to different countries to invite investors to come to the country. Now you check how much of investment have we seen. Most of the investment have gone to portfolio investment. Why? Because they feel, well, even when the money comes to this country, do they put it on infrastructure? Would they make energy relatively better, relatively more available for me? Would they not, the money they are supposed to fight is spent on security, to fight insurgents, kidnapping, and banditry. Where will they keep such money? These are real conversations, and that is why you think that the world is not watching. I tell you, they are not using 2 eyes to check us. They are using 4 eyes to check us.
You made mention of portfolio investment, and it would be very nice for Nigerians to get clarity on that. So can you take time to break it down? What type of investments? Because every time we hear the federal government says, oh, we've secured investments, we've secured investments, and this has made it has led to Nigerians asking, okay, you're getting all of these investments, like you mentioned earlier on, how come we're not feeling it? So can you break it down? Portfolio investment, what other investments are there?
Okay, so investment, we have foreign direct investments. When you look at Nigeria investment flow, you can share them, you can divide them into what we call investment in real sector, which includes somebody coming to build factory in Nigeria, somebody coming to set up in Nigeria, and so on and so forth. We also have those who may not even be on our shores at all. What they do is to buy our shares. What they do is to buy government bonds, government treasury bills. That's all they do. They don't come. And anytime they hear that Nigeria is going through economic crisis, or they know that economic crisis may hit, they quickly sell off. So they are the biggest gainer, we are the biggest loser. We have 80%, more than 80% of all investment we have attracted in that category. So that is not an investment that is preeminent. That is not investment that will stay with us for long. That is how we have attracted investment. As a matter of fact, those investors majorly look at what is happening to interest rates. When our NPR is high, they stay. When the NPR is low, they run. So, but what we need to attract is really investment in real sector. It is that investment that will help our people. Let me give you an instance. You are a reputable television station. The question, do you know that many homes are watching you, millions of them at the same time as I'm talking to you? But listen, those TV stations, where are they from? Are they made in Nigeria? We are not saying they should be made by Nigeria necessarily. So a TV station that is not owned by Nigeria, a TV box
yes,
that is not made by Nigeria or set, can somebody that owns that company come to Nigeria and start assembling it? So that means it cannot dismantle his factory overnight, even if there is a crisis. That means that wealth is with Nigeria. The same thing with vehicles. The same with mobile phones, and so on and so forth. Those are real investments that will put Nigerians to work. Look at what is happening in South Africa. Oh, foreigners go. The president is saying illegal immigrants. But some that we have been gathering from the rest of Africa to our organization, even legal immigrants feel threatened. What happens to those who have made investments in that country? Can they carry it overnight? But listen, if it's a stock, they'll sell off their stock, they will go back to their country. So South Africa made environment relatively comfortable for you to come and invest. Look at China again. If you have been to China, you see investment everywhere. Why? Because they make sure that you can invest in real sector. Nigeria needs to do the same. We must invest. We must make investment environment to be friendly. You will not need to convince people. Why? Because if somebody says the economy cash, you can see job. All they need to do is to work on yourself, get the right education. And education sector will even reflect the impact on investment sector. We have major impact on education sector. Schools will come, new skills will be learned, technology will also help. So we need to have a different orientation. The traditional approach, the neoclassical approach to developing economy has not really worked for developing nations, especially Africa. And that is why some of these institutions, global institutions, are now having a rethink that we might need to adopt a Keynesian system where we know that critical infrastructure, which includes rail, which includes road, which includes energy, must come forth. And all of this must come through government intervention. Some of them will be public-private partnership. Some of them will be government investing. The factories we saw in China, it was not investors that say, oh, we like the atmosphere in China. The weather is so good. No. Government drove it. Government started those factories and started leasing them out and started giving them out, started bringing them at a ridiculous rate. When people will say, you mean is this low? Just get into it. At the same time, when they were doing that, they started teaching their people technical education, not university education, not university degree, not polytechnic degree. What nobody wants to study in Nigeria is how they started their own population. That is when adverts will not cease on this TV station and many others, on radio station, on billboards, on newspaper. Media will also have the impact. The question is it rocket science? Why are we not doing it today?
Dr. Elaje, for many Nigerians watching, and it's not every time that we have the pleasure of speaking to an economist like you who can break down things and questions that some of them might want to ask. So the question is, Nigeria's foreign reserves is the highest, the highest we've ever seen was $62 billion under President Obasanjo in 2007.
Yes.
But it's currently at $50.5 billion. And they're wondering, we have all this money. What's the significance of a huge foreign exchange reserve? And also, what does government need to do to improve the purchasing power parity of ordinary Nigerians? When would things become affordable? Is it that there will be so much wealth in the system and inflation levels will drop? Or what needs to be done to improve the quality of life of the average Nigerian? And does having a huge foreign exchange reserve, does it contribute to it in any way?
Okay, let me first say what reserve is not. Foreign reserve is not money where you keep it as a reserve, so that when our budget is not enough, you just put your hand in your foreign reserve. No, that's not reserve. Forget that we call it a reserve. It is a reserve, but technically, in the real sense, it's actually not a reserve.
So what's all that money doing there?
I don't know, because, I try when I speak to assume I'm speaking to a 10-year-old for all my presentation. So this is what it means. When people import, we must have sufficient foreign currency to exchange. Government cannot just put its hand in our reserve and say, oh, we need money. We want to construct a bridge from Lagos to Kano. Therefore, we have $50 billion, let's spend it. That is not a reserve. That is not the purpose of a reserve. But what is the reserve? And how do you accumulate money in it? You read that we borrowed a lot of foreign currency. Government is passing $2 billion, $1 billion. All of those monies are actually going to our reserve. Any foreign currency inflows, when money is sent by diaspora to Nigerians, that money go to reserve. CBN now give Naira equivalents. So you see that technically it's not your money. It's not our money that we can just spend anyhow, even though it's still our money. But the purpose is for exchanges. Why you have a reserve primarily is for us to have a balance, a stable. Remember, the minister said we have now gotten to the level of stability. Yes, that's why as our reserve is going, we can have more confidence that exchange rate will be stable. You want to know where we may have another major exchange rate crisis? Let us reserve go below $30 billion. Then you know that the naira in your pocket is not safe. It will start shaking. So that primary is the reserve. That the money is there does not mean we are so wealthy we can't spend it. But why is it that in spite of this reserve, we still have some challenges? Look at what China reserve is. You can Google it. Multiples of hours. Look at South Africa reserve. More than ours. That is why the position of our reserve is there. It has grown, and I commend the central bank for the growth. But I'm saying that where we need to be is still far away from where we are right now. So the purpose of reserve is not where we pick money. Our reserve now is $50 billion. Therefore, Nigeria should rejoice. Yes, for stability of exchange rates. Not that we have money we can spend. If not, what is our budget? That means we have almost times 2+ of our budget. We could have just taken it where we are fighting insecurity. What we budgeted for before was not enough. So let's take money from reserve. We dare not do that. We dare not do that.
Well,
we dare not do that.
We want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning and helping us to understand the current situation in which we find ourselves. Thank you once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, away from that, let's still stick around to stories concerning Nigeria's economy. The African Export-Import Bank says that there is a need for the establishment of African-based credit rating agencies managed by African professionals. provide greater perspective, balance, and clarity in the assessment of African businesses and economies. President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afrexim Bank, George Elombi, made this known during the bank's mid-year media roundtable in Abuja following S&P Global Ratings' assignment of a BBB plus investment grade rating of the bank, presenting a stable outlook. Our correspondent, Joshua Marayi, reports.
Few months after Fitch and Moody downgraded the investment-grade credit rating of the African Export-Import Bank, S&P Global Ratings has assigned the Pan-African lender a BBB plus investment-grade rating with a stable outlook. At its mid-year media roundtable in Abuja, the bank pushed back against what it describes as an unfair assessment of African risk, saying plans are underway to deepen trade and investment across the continent.
When you look at the liquidity profile of Afrexim Bank as a whole, you see that the dependence on Western sources of liquidity has reduced. 38% now from Africa, 38% from Asia, about 12% from the Middle East. So Western resources has now come down to around 12%.
Responding to questions on why S&P assigned the bank a BBB rating just months after Fitch and Moody's downgrade, Elombi says that rating agency found Afrexim Bank to be a credible and reliable source of income.
So the rating agencies look at our collaterals, look at the tenor of the loans, and they say Afrexim Bank is exceptional. The collaterals, 80% of the loans are collateralized. We do more private sector lending than public sector.
Beyond the ratings debate, the bank also announced a $75 million endowment for a research center at the African Medical Center of Excellence, while reaffirming its commitment to advancing the African Continental Free Trade Area. The bank also affirmed that the Intra-African Trade Fair will return to Lagos from 25th to 30th November 2027, alongside the Connect weekend, further positioning Nigeria as a hub for trade, culture, and creative industries. In Abuja, for News Central, Joshua Marayi.
Let's also tell you very quickly here on News Central that the governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Oyèbánjí, has promised to push for a unity government with opposition political parties, following his recent victory at the state governorship poll on June the 20th. Governor Oyèbánjí, while meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja, presented a certificate of return to the president, saying that the time of electioneering in the state is over, and informing the president that governance will now commence and must take priority. He also reaffirmed the state's support for the establishment of state police, an initiative of the president which has drawn widespread reactions across the country.
Politics has ended. We have to move back to governance, and it is one. And I told them that I will need all of them, their wisdom and their suggestion and advice in ensuring that we continue to deliver to our people. What will I do differently? Well, I have my job cut out for me. We have a 30-year development plan that I'm following. So we continue to diligently follow that plan. Well, there's a NEC decision on this. NEC has met and most states have submitted their bills. We are ready for state police, and we are thankful to the National Assembly for the amendments to the constitutions, and we are waiting that it will be transmitted to the State House of Assembly. And the governors have made up their mind that they are going to give it a speedy approval so that we can start implementing.
Even with the federal police that we have, a governor who is the chief security officer in the state can still use the police, in a way that he thinks is possible to use, depending on how much the system would allow him to manipulate itself. But most importantly, we are putting mechanisms in the law as we are amending the Constitution that would prevent or minimize instances of abuse, by state governors.
Yeah, welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're done with the first hour of the show. It's now time for us to bring you a recap of what we've talked about this morning. Nigeria has progressed to economic stability, says the coordinating Minister of Finance, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. State Governor Oyebanji promises inclusive governance in state police as he meets with Mr. President in the Villa. And Afrexim Bank advocates African-led agencies with regards to global credit rating. Coming up next this morning on Breakfast Central, we will speak with the Honorable Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources in Lagos State, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab. Akpabio others retain seats on the APC, and community protests as government seeks intervention in Borno State. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central will continue shortly.
The federal government has officially unveiled the digitalized Nigeria Education Management Information System aimed at strengthening education planning and improving decision-making with reliable data. The platform is also expected to enhance school safety, guide interventions, and monitor learning outcomes nationwide. Our correspondent, Sumaya Abubakar, brings us more in this report.
The federal government says that the launch of the digitalized Nigeria Education Management Information System marks a new era of data-driven education governance. It is expected to replace fragmented records with a unified digital platform that captures information on schools, teachers, learners, and infrastructure to guide planning and resource allocation.
Once this public data become effaced, go to the state data, look at the ratio of students to teachers, classroom to teachers, challenge the governors to build more classrooms and more teachers.
I urge us all to remember why we are here. Data must serve children. Let every dashboard you populate and every report you generate translate to a classroom with a teacher, a child, with a textbook, and a school with school infrastructure.
We are going to propagate and encourage all members in this statistical system to be using, pulling the data, also interrogating the data that is coming from the dynamic so that we can continuously have quality data.
Education stakeholders and development partners say the platform will improve school safety, support targeted interventions, and strengthen accountability while pledging continued collaboration for its nationwide implementation.
We believe that when properly implemented, the system will support better planning for teacher recruitment,
equitable distribution of teaching personnel, infrastructural development, curriculum implementation, and education financing in Nigeria.
For the first time, Nigeria is building an integrated digital education management system that connects the school to the local government areas, to the state, to the federal government through one platform.
No doubt that data is at the center of transformation for the future. So this is the space where we need to be, and we are grateful for Nigeria for being such a great partner in promoting data-based transformation.
As implementation begins, stakeholders say the success of the system will depend on sustained collaboration to ensure that accurate data drives better education outcomes across Nigeria. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Now to political matters. As part of efforts to strengthen collaboration on voter education, public sensitization, and promoting credible, peaceful, and inclusive polls ahead of the 2027 general elections, the National Orientation Agency and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, have pledged to commence a joint sensitization drive targeting Nigerians across all strata of society. News Central's correspondent Aishat Salihu has more on this.
This meeting, held at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, focused on enhancing strategic partnerships aimed at improving voter awareness, civic responsibility, and public confidence in Nigeria's electoral process. The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Lanre Issa Onilu, emphasized the importance of sustained voter education in ensuring informed participation and reducing electoral apathy.
Considering even an election year, such as the one that we are in now, it is not something that will start 3 months to election. It ought to be a continuous process. So we need to increase the number of people who come out to vote. The percentage is still very low compared to the registered voters. So we need to promote people and ensure that they come out to vote. We need to let them understand the process. We need to even let them understand beyond the process.
Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joasha Mupiton, says that the Commission has embarked on introducing downloadable PVCs to encourage greater participation in elections.
It's not every PVC that are downloadable. You must have gotten your PVC before, and you must, maybe the PVC is lost, the PVC is defaced, or some other, you cannot read your the number that's there. But the voter must go and complain. It's not automatic. You must complain, and the complaint must be 90 days before the election. So that will now enable us to print replacement card. And the provision is flexible. That the moment you complain, you should be able to print which you can use.
The renewed partnership between the National Orientation Agency and the Independent National Electoral Commission is expected to intensify voter education and public enlightenment campaigns as preparations gradually gather momentum for the 2027 general elections. In Abuja, for News Central, Aisha Salihu.
Well, very interesting times, Binga, looking at the fact that there's a campaign against voter apathy. And we're hoping that this would indeed change the tides, especially how Nigerians view the election cycle.
From this board level type discussions, they should go to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria and let the people, voter education is not just calling a few pressmen and, speaking in Dogon Turanchi. It's about going to the streets and educating the people, let them know at the community level the importance of participating in this exercise. And also, civic education generally. So good step, but there's still more that needs to be done.
There is indeed more that needs to be done. We're going on a very quick break. When we come back, we have a number of conversations to have. Recall that we're still looking at a flawed situation with the Commissioner of Lagos, of Environment in Lagos. So please stay with us. Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, APC, has cleared Senate President Godswill Akpabio, Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau, Senate Leader Kwemi Bamidele, and 4 governors including Hope Uzodinma, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, Inuwa Yahaya, and Dakpo Abiodun to contest senatorial seats in 2027. This decision was ratified after the primaries and appeal reviews in an attempt aimed at strengthening APC's dominance, but leaves behind a trail of political heavyweights who lost out, sparking tension within the party.
While APC consolidates its Senate majority, the big question is what happens if we aspire to lose line. Figures like former governor of Osun State, Benga Daniel Nedunwoko, amongst others, who suffered defeat at the primaries at the state level. Party insiders warn of possible defections or sabotage if the fallout is not well managed. The stakes are high and internal fractures could weaken APC's cohesion ahead of the 2027 elections, even as it projects strength at the national level. Join us for this discussion is political analyst and content writer Timothy Adegunle. A warm welcome to you, Timothy, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Now, what would you say about APC's retention of Akpabio and 4 governors? Is it a show of strength or a sign of recycling political power?
Okay. It is important to curate the narrative properly. Other political parties, as an opposition that they are, will not necessarily cook up the narrative that they are trying to do so for retirement purpose and trying to recycle old political assets. But the truth of the matter is that any political party needs the experience of its high stakeholders to consolidate its effort, because in any democratic settings, you need political continuity, you need political success to even achieve administrative objectives. Whatever your administrative objectives are or whatever your plans are, the political strength that you have built over time is what you need to consolidate your administrative effort. So I think it is they are working in the right direction.
Is the party not worried about how the other aggrieved aspirants, people like Benga Daniels, Nedunwoko, who feel cheated out of the primaries if they're not on board with the party's decision, considering that they are also high stakeholders in the party and, fear that they could react either through litigation or, maybe retreating from the activities of the party?
Okay. For APC as the biggest political party in Africa, it is normal to have issues within. And, the reality is that APC is its biggest enemy at the moment. There is no opposition that is equal to the task that can actually bring a division, except APC itself does not have the metrics or the methodology of resolving internal issues. And when you have issues with high stakeholders like Benga Daniel, Nedunwoko, and other people of that caliber, the party as a political institution must try as much as possible to execute internal conflict resolution method such that you can find a way to meet their various interests. You understand? Because one of the great things that any political party must learn and master how to do properly is to aggregate all the vast interests from every stakeholder, because that is what you need to spread across the country. That is what you need to show strength, to also give yourself the confidence that you can win across every nook and cranny of Nigeria. So for people like Nedunwoko, Benga Daniel, the party is large enough to find a way to fix them up. Even if they did not necessarily get what they were looking for, the party can create a compensation plan for them within the party structure, maybe a board somewhere or something else that can at least satisfy their aggrievement at the moment.
Okay, now this strategy, is it not going to cause further crisis internally? Don't you think ahead of 2027, APC is going to have some more, internal crisis?
Okay, yes, APC, that fear is valid. APC must look forward and try to avoid any kind of implosion and make sure that the seats at the round table with all the stakeholders. I will refer to an issue that happened when Tinubu was preparing for the election in 2023 when he visited Akwa Ibom. he met two key people within the APC who were having issues at that time, and he resolved the issue for them. And today, they are stronger. APC is stronger in Akwa Ibom than ever before. So I believe that if they handle it well as an institution, beyond looking at it as a political vehicle, they can handle the issue properly, meet everybody at their point of need, and you see, politics is...
Meeting them at their point of need. Sorry to butt in there. Yes. Meeting them at their point of need. Does it mean some sort of compensation, appointments, or how exactly? How exactly can you meet them at their point of need?
Everybody engages in politics, especially partisan politics, is doing it for one benefit or the other, whether in cash or in kind. Across any democracy in the world, politics is the vehicle that gives you the gateway or gives you the access to administrative governance. So you must have a way to meet the people at the point of their need, especially your big stakeholders. It could be appointment, it could be a board appointment, it could be something else, but they understand what those incentives are within the party political structure.
Very interesting. They understand the political structure and what it is. But there are so many other questions I want to ask regarding this, regarding the return. But are governors who have been cleared for the Senate races not also using Senate seats as a political retirement? Because that's exactly what it looks like. A governor is done. He served like 2 terms. He's been under one commission. He's been there. I mean, take, for instance, the Senate president. He's been there as the ND, Niger Delta, just name them, so many other commissions. And here he is again, back to the Senate. Is it a retirement seat or better still office?
Okay, it depends on where you are looking at it from. If you are looking at it from the opposition lens, you can call it a retirement plan. But if you are looking at it from within the APC party structure, you can call it the use of experience. When you have served
but they have executive experience, not legislative experience.
Then they're 2 separate arms.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah. So if you have executive experience, you must have, over the years, built some kind of collaboration with the legislative arm such that you understand what the bottlenecks are and how to navigate whatever challenges you could face within the legislative corner or pathway. So them coming to the Senate is the APC itself reinforcing its legislative capacity and assets, using the experience that those guys have achieved while serving executive positions.
Another angle to look at it, is it safe to say that that's also a way to strengthen the number or increase the number of seats they occupy in the House? So it's more political than anything else because they want to be able to say they occupy the majority of seats in the House. That's not another perspective to look at it from.
Of course, definitely that perspective is valid. You cannot, any political party in any democracy does not own or is not obliged to give strategic advice to other opposition parties on how to go about it. You owe yourself that responsibility. You owe yourself the responsibility to strengthen your political power, consolidate your effort across all the stakeholders' tiers, and make sure that you close every loophole such that you do not allow opposition to find your weak points. So APC owe itself that responsibility to reinforce all its strong points and make sure that there are no weak links. Because when you lose one political asset, you are losing them to the opposition, and it could be a threat. So, and if you don't have any political consolidation or political strength, like I said, you cannot achieve administrative success.
Okay. There is another angle that I wanted to look at it from, the fact that a lot of these people who are, I shouldn't call them people, but there are a lot of the senators or the legislative officers who are coming, and some of them have served in the executive. Some of them still are on life pension whilst having served in the executive. And now they're coming to the legislative arm and they're still earning. So it's double earnings, right? And as a nation, shouldn't that be something that we should maybe revisit? Because for example, the Senate president, who was once the governor, he should be on life salary. And then he'll be earning from his state. earning again as a senator. Is that not something that we should maybe revisit in the nearest future?
Okay, I think it is more of a populistic perspective when you look at it from that angle. In reality, what we should be concerned about as the people is what's the productivity that they are going to give to us as the legislative representative. So I will give you an instance. During the 8th Assembly, when Bukola Saraki was the leader, they had a lot of issues with the then President Buhari of blessed memory. And they could not achieve a lot because the legislative arm of government is not supposed to, at every point in time, yes, they have to be doing the check and balances, but they don't have to, at every point in time, be anti-executive just because they want to satisfy most of the dissenting voices among the people who said, oh, they don't want to be, they don't want to look like a rubber stamp Senate. But in reality, when you look at what this administration has achieved in terms of policy formulation and legislative achievement, you will see that it is because they have collaborative synergy between the executive and the legislature.
So what you're saying in essence is that you do not see why this is an issue, why in many states in the country where civil servants are battling with unpaid salaries, in a country where NLC is still arguing that 70,000 naira minimum wage is not enough for the average civil servant. But there are politicians that have served in the executive arm who are now on lifetime salaries. So they're receiving from the executive as former governors and receiving from the legislative arm. You don't see a problem with that. And Nigerians have been asked to tighten their belts.
Okay, so I think it is important to also correct the notion that people are being owed salary. If you look at all the states, they have more funds than before. And I will try to make an example of one senator from the US. I can't remember her name now. She is a female, and she has been in the Senate, US Senate, for over 37 years before she died. It is important to know that in politics, you need experienced hands. That vast experience is very critical for you to consolidate your strength, like I said, for you to forge ahead. Because all other political parties, the opposition, they are trying to catch up all the time. They are looking up to you. Let us now talk about the pay. What is important for me personally, and this is my opinion, is not the pay. It is the productivity. For a very long time, we've been having a Senate that has been at loggerhead with the executive for no reasons. When there are reasons for them to do so, I'm not saying they should not do their check and balances. It is important for them to maintain the balance where the executive are not losing sight of what the administrative objectives should be, or what the achievements and the dividend of democracy should be for the people. But it does not mean that there should be a constant loggerhead with the executive simply because they don't want to look like a rubber stamp. In Nigeria at the moment, we are better economically than where we used to be 3-4 years ago. So it is important for us to also take note of those achievements and give credit to this 10th Assembly.
When you say we're better off economically than where we used to be, the purchasing power parity has dropped. There are more Nigerians that are more multi-dimensionally poor. So where do you get your figures from to say that we're better off economically when the reality of Nigerians, that their pockets and their purchasing power is low, and the statistics say otherwise? So how are we better off
so when economically? You say statistics says otherwise, I would ask for what your sources are. Yesterday or day before yesterday, IMD dropped a report about Nigeria topping the Africa Economic Ranking. This is just a recent, you can go on Google and fact check this. Now, when you look at the purchasing power of Nigeria, it has dropped. It has dropped because of the dollar, the forex changes, and also the high price of the removal of subsidy. Basically, those two things, if we do not do them, the purchasing power right now, by now, if we had not done those two things, we will be worse off than where we are. And let me talk about the minimum wage. If the attention this administration is paying to minimum wage right now, trying to revisit it every three years. If we have been doing that for the past 20 years, we will not be here today talking about 70,000 naira minimum wage or even 200,000 minimum wage. But because previous administration has failed to look at those critical areas, then they are leaving that load for this administration to take care of. I think you understand my point.
Okay, if you say that you don't understand where my colleague is getting his data in terms of purchasing power, maybe go into the streets and speak with average Nigerians, the everyday Nigerians who have to take the public transport. We speak with them. They drop comments on our YouTube. They call in on the show. And every time they're calling, they're expressing a huge level of frustration. Even all of us here on this set have experienced it to an extent. Rents have been increased in Lagos. A number of us find that even people can't afford my salary in a year at this point vis-a-vis how much the rent is, is costing. You see that there's a huge divide. So I don't know that we can say that Nigerians' purchasing power has increased or is much better, right? But you said that you're not... Okay, you said it will have been worse off, right? It's bad.
Yes.
It's bad. Let's call it spade a spade. It is bad. But you said that our focus shouldn't be on lawmakers earning multiple salaries, first from the executive arm and now in the legislative arm, and the focus should be on productivity and the value that they have to deliver. I want you to analyze and assess Senator Godswill Akpabio's leadership and the Senate under his leadership. How do you think the Senate leadership and the whole Senate fares or has fared?
Okay. If I have to assess the leadership of the 10th Assembly under Senator Akpabio, I will have to look at the metrics by what this 10th Assembly has been able to achieve in terms of lawmaking. I'm going to start from the NELFund scheme. The NELFund scheme, if you remember the milestones of that event, there was a time when the policy was that your parents must make a minimum of certain amount for you to qualify for NELFund. When that bill was passed to the president rejected it and told them to go and look into it. They looked into it and made it open. Today, NELFund has impacted over 1 million Nigerian undergraduates. Then let us go to the tax reform. Whatever the states are doing right now, whether it is Abia State, whether it is Enugu State, whether it is Ogun State, whether it is Lagos State, it is because the revenue has increased. And that revenue would have increased if there has been no reformation around the tax act or tax bill. So that is point 2. Point 3 is the NIMC. For a very long time, we have complained about social benefits. You cannot have social benefits in a country like Nigeria where we do not have harmonized data. In places like South Africa, for instance, I have a boss who worked there, and he told me that every month their citizens get credited. It is easy to get that credit because they have the data. You are not looking for anybody. You don't have to give them 200,000 naira by cash. You don't have to be going from state to state. You know exactly who you are giving 20,000 to. In Nigeria, we do not have that data. So NIMC is the measure that is going to correct that anomaly. So you can give people social benefits, social blankets, social cushioning when they need it. You understand? So in that area, that is another achievement. Another achievement again for the National Assembly is the aspect of all the reforms around the oil and gas, all the reforms around the insurance sector. When you take a list, you can go on and take a list of about 10 bills that they have done that has transformed the economy properly, yet at the macro level. At the micro level, responsibility falls on the subnationals to stand up to what they are supposed to do. Look at the Local Government Autonomy Act. Look at the Electricity Act that the president assented to. So when you look at all these legislative achievements, I don't think you can say Akpabio has done poorly, or the 10th Assembly as a whole has done poorly.
Okay. Since you say they've not done poorly, I mean, that's your opinion. You've said that is your opinion, and you feel that they've done well. But since we're focusing on the National Assembly, you are also aware that a former minister was arrested at the airport. Let's start from there. Former minister was arrested at the airport, former minister Uche Nnaji. But he did pass through the same assembly, and they vetted and they approved. And they said he can go ahead to serve. Not just him, I'm sure you're also aware that there was a dead person who was also approved under the same administration, just like the previous one. I'm also sure that you are equally aware that some of the arguments going back and forth on the same reforms you've mentioned, some senators have said that they did not even get to see the certified true copy and how speedy it was done. So let's start off with the minister first, the approval. Would you say that the current assembly is doing due diligence before they go ahead to approve anyone to become a minister? Let's start with the little ones before we get to the big ones.
Okay, for the institution, the legislative institution as it is, when you have individuals within the institution who are representing whatever constituency they come from across the country, it is the duty of the Senate to do due diligence, like you said. However, it is not the duty of the Senate to police them. It is the duty of the EFCC, ICPC, and other agencies.
No. Sorry to
so whatever
butt in.
they must have done, individual.
Sorry to butt in, but they have to go through the documents. Anyway, let's cut the chase. My question, I'm summing it all up.
Okay.
The speedy process in which they've gone to, look at bills and pass them as soon as possible. Don't you think it is worthy of note that this Senate needs to slow down and take a look at some of these bills carefully before they actually sign them? Don't you think so? Because you say they're doing fantastically well.
When you say speedy process, I will take the tax reform bill, for instance. The tax reform bill was with the National Assembly for over 8 months or 10 months, close to a year, if I'm not mistaken. And that document is about 386 pages because I read it. And I don't think you need a year to study a 386 or 388 page.
Have you read the police? Have you read the police? Have you read the one of the police? The state police?
Yeah,
have
so
you read
the
it?
The one for the police has been on their desk for over 6 months. The president, if you remember, the president has spoken to this National Assembly to try and work on that bill about 3 times at different occasions. So when you say it is too speedy, I think we are used to unnecessary delays when it comes to legislative process. I'm going to cite an example of the Petroleum Industry Act that was on their desk for about 2 decades. There's no country that can grow, considering the kind of era that we are right now. I don't think you have to let a bill stay on your desk for 2 years before you work on it. Because at the end of the day, we ask the questions of what are they doing in the house? They are going there to sleep. They are going there to waste our time. But when they go there and they are paying attention to some of these details, I'm not saying that there are no infractions. I'm not saying that they are 100% perfect. But I think when it comes to performance rating, I think they've done better than subsequent legislative administration.
Okay. You also made mention that things are now far better. Things are better economically. I just want to ask you, when last did you buy gas and fuel?
Okay, so now let me be very clear. I did not say things are far better. I'm saying economically Nigeria is far better compared to where we could have been if the subsidy removal has not been done and the stabilization of the forest rate has not been done. Imagine that as of 2023, when President Tinubu came to power, we had net foreign exchange at $3 billion, and we're spending $700 million to to pay for subsidy. So in 6 months, we will have exhausted our entire foreign exchange coffers, and we will be at zero foreign exchange. And by that time, you will be at the mercy of finance houses like IMF and World Bank. Today, we are debt free. We don't have debt with IMF anymore. We are dealing with UAE and we are dealing with World Bank. But at some point, we are able to rebuild our reserve back to double digits. aside from that, macroeconomy is doing well when you look at the stock exchange. But when you come to the microeconomy level, yes, that is where the issue is, like you said, multidimensional poverty. But I also want to call your attention to something. If you travel around the country, I've been to about 4 or 5 states in the last 2 months, you will see a lot of road construction. So anytime we talk about multidimensional poverty, we need to also talk about multidimensional employment opportunities. For every road construction, for every 1 kilometer of road construction that you see, somebody supplied the granite, somebody is driving a truck, somebody is buying spare parts to replace whatever damage has happened to that truck. Some people are working. The last time I went to Fulu in Lekki Ajaxis, the people who were selling things there were less than 10. If you go back there, those areas now, they are opened up. So when you look at and all the land assets, all the landed properties around those areas, all the real estate springing up around those areas, it is because infrastructure has been able to open into those areas. That is why people are going into those areas to set up estates, set up companies, especially when you look at Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Both sides of the expressway, companies are springing up. When you look at Baba to Shagam, companies are springing up. When you look at Shagam to Ore Road, a lot of things is going on. So it is those projects, it is not those that are working there. It is Nigerians that we think are complaining.
I would like
Meanwhile, that's not to say people are complaining. You understand?
Yeah,
so let me get your point.
All right, I wanted you to explain. You started this answer by saying Nigeria is debt-free. I wanted you to share with us your sources about, Nigeria being debt-free.
When I say debt-free, IMF. Right. IMF debt-free.
Okay, but you are aware that we just, we got fresh loans. There's been an approval of $1.25 billion under the Nigeria Action for Investment and Jobs Acceleration Program. We've just gotten fresh loans. And part of the criticism we've seen leveled against the current administration is the frequency with which we have gotten loans. Do you want to maybe react to that?
And the cost of repaying those loans are exorbitant.
Okay, so I don't think the cost to repay some of these loans are quite exorbitant as some people are going to put it. But let me say this. We complain about infrastructural deficit so much. We know what our road used to be like, especially the federal road in perspective now. For you to speed up the infrastructural deficits and try to catch up with other countries in terms of infrastructure, you need to accelerate funding. You need to accelerate those projects. And you need to make sure that you accelerate the benefit that also comes with that project. I will take the example of, take the coastal road, for example. From what we have read from reports, a lot of agencies or a lot of firms are now coming to open up investment along that corridor. That is simply because we were able to focus on that project and try to accelerate the execution as quickly or as fast as possible. Now, in terms of the loans that we are getting, when you have a good credit rating as an individual, what happens to the financing houses that you work with? They try to come to you and give you more loans. When you look at our debt to GDP, we are still below 50%. The US, the UK, France, none of these countries is less than 100% debt to GDP. Nigeria is still hovering around 48, 49%. So I don't think at that level we have outdone ourselves as far as debt is concerned compared to our GDP.
Okay, all right. Well, like they always say, it's your opinion, and we appreciate your opinion, whether you like it or not, because that's why we're here as a news channel, to ensure that we have a balance. But thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speak with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Very interesting conversation there. You can head to YouTube. We've seen the comments. Keep the comments coming. We'll refer to them. But we have the Lagos State Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources, who's joining us next. Let's talk about the flooding in Lagos and what's been happening, what the government is doing regarding the flooding, and how Lagosians can be better prepared. That conversation comes up next.
Rainfall across Lagos has triggered widespread flooding in several parts of the state, disrupting movements, stranding commuters and submerging homes and businesses. Affected areas include Oshodi, Gbagada, Surulere, Ikeja, Lekki, Victoria Island and parts of Ikorodu, with some roads becoming impassable for several hours. The Lagos state government has attributed the flooding to persistent rainfall, saturated ground conditions, rising lagoon water levels, and drainage channels overwhelmed by the volume of water.
Furthermore, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu has approved the dredging and maintenance of 28 additional drainage channels across the state, while officials continue to remove structures obstructing waterways and drainage setbacks. We're joined this morning to discuss possible lasting solutions to this reoccurring event by the Honorable Commissioner of Lagos State, Mr. Tokunbo Wahab, the Honorable Commissioner of Environment and Water Resources. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I wish that we're having you to discuss happy news, but I mean, from behind the scenes, we have been crying about what Lagosians have been crying about. We've seen the Sunday flood, for example, was something that a huge part of, the different parts of the state have been overrun and overtaken by water. We know also that there had been predictions about the expectation of rainfall this year. And some of the arguments that we hear is, if Lagos State knew about this rainfall, did we put in enough to prepare and to ensure that these flash floods don't take us by surprise? The effect of the flash floods don't take us by surprise.
Okay, let me start by saying this. Why do we have flash floods? Because as a coastal state, once it rains heavily, the tidal lock. Tidal lock means the sea level is high. And then your storm water, that's your rainwater, will not be able to discharge into these natural outlets. Hence, we say to Lagosians, please be calm, don't panic. I usually say this, do a timestamp whenever you see those waters. Do a timestamp and come back there within the next 2-3 hours. The water level would have gone receded, and then you have your road or your infrastructure back. You see, being a coastal state, there are some challenges we can't run away from. And that is the challenges of flash flooding. As a government, are we folding our hands? No. All year round, in the past few years, we have a team we call EFAG, that's the Emergency Flood Abatement Gang. All the gang does is every area of the state, 57 local government and LCDAs, they work around the clock to ensure they are desilting and cutting away all the debt in our drains. That's on the one hand. The governor thankfully also had ensured we ramped up the provision of resilient infrastructure. And once these things are in place, we owe it as a duty to tell Lagosians, don't panic. If there are flash flooding incidents, be rest assured the infrastructure has been overwhelmed by the excessive water from the skies. In a matter of 1 or 2 hours, it will recede into the natural habitat. That is the explanation for flash flooding. Now, let's also speak about our geography as a state. Lagos is just 0.4% of the country's landmass, and that is 3,357 square kilometers of land. A third of this is water. That means we just have about 70% of land to play with, and Lagos is accommodating 10% or more of the country's population within Lagos. The southern border of Lagos, we have the Atlantic, where we share 186 kilometers of our southern border with the Atlantic Ocean. And that's why people around the Okun-Ajah, Langbasa corridor, Orimedu, they are having the challenges of coastal erosion. Some days back, the state, we hosted the Salata Institute from Harvard Business School. And we had a conversation about erosion and climate challenges in the Gulf of Guinea. We had people from Harvard, Lagos, University of Lagos, Accra, and Cote d'Ivoire. This was on Friday to Saturday. we discussed this. By Sunday, that heavy flooding happened on the coast of the Gulf of Guinea. Accra submerged, and my condolences to them where they had lost about 12 or 13 people as of yesterday. Côte d'Ivoire submerged, Lomé submerged. Lagos had the same challenges of flash flooding. We can't now say we want to run away from the realities of climate change as a coastal state. Now, what have we also done as a people to make this a bit worse? People are seeing money rather than seeing the environment and humanity. We've seen land-owning families in some areas of Lagos choosing to do reclamations without approvals, choosing to push back nature without science. And the government had drawn a marker to say no. In as much as we have a context between urbanization and the environment, we must situate things in proper context to allow both live in the same ecosystem. I'll give an example of an area on the island called Agungi Ajiro axis. If you go to Ajiro Road and some parts of Agungi, it's perpetually flooded with water. 2 years ago, in our reviewed master plan, we insisted, let us elevate the drains on the Ajiro Road. It's too narrow, it's too small to contain the water from those massive houses that volume that come up on the axis. And it was awarded. The contract is ongoing. We also said, because of the development on that corridor, the canal by Northern Foreshore, discharging through Chevron Drive by Ebano into the lagoon, we must put a proper infrastructure to help them discharge. And by Lekki Homes property to the right of it, at the tail end of that Chevron Drive, you can find and see the trapezoidal the government had provided to discharge into the lagoon. I was there a couple of times. And it was agreed, it was awarded. So the question was, why isn't this water level going down? And we had to go there after the sanitation on Saturday. We went there on Sunday. On getting there, oh, this is the picture, I believe. On getting there, what we saw was heart-wrenching. And the question was, how could people be so wicked to themselves? That's where they are from, most of them. We're not even disputing their land ownership. All we are saying is, how could you go and block the natural outlets for the rainwater to leave your town, your village, Ajiro, and the environs? How could you be so materialistic that all you had to think of was, I want to make money, and you had blocked it outrightly. So if you block the outlet to the lagoon down, and then the river to the right, the Kota River, Lagos Lagoons to the straight course, and then to your right is the Kota River, how do you want to deflood that town? It's not rocket science. The water will not leave. And then we chose to open it, and they chose to show resistance. But how? They came with policemen and civil defense men to a private land. And we said, no, you have to leave this place. We have to do our work, providing public interest. And thankfully, in the past 2 days, and we're still going back there tomorrow, we will not leave the place until we remove all these contraventions and that water body leaves. That's the Kota River to your extreme there. So until we open up both sides, going straight goes to Lagos Lagoon. That's the Kota River. That's VGC on the other side you're looking at. And it just shows how callous and irresponsible some of these people are. And we must call them to task and do the needful.
Now, Honourable Commissioner, this is one of the reasons why quite a number of people have criticised the state government handling of this flooding situation. We do understand there's an act of God and climate change and there are things we can't change. But they say the Lagos state response is mostly reactionary, that NIMET did give a warning of unprecedented flooding, and you talked about IFAG and the others. But this landholding family, they're not above the law. And they say for the Lagos State government to just discover this contravention means they're not proactive, because LAPCA goes around putting X on buildings that don't have proper paperwork and structure. But for them to have missed this until this rainy season means that the government is not really proactive. There should be a continuous monitoring exercise of this critical state infrastructure.
This is not a building. And the signpost on the land, your colleague was there with us. That place, they put the signpost on the 9th of June that this land was taken by possession of a court order. That was what happened.
But these are critical state infrastructure, the channels, the canals.
The channel, if you play back the video, the channel ends by Lekki Homes. This is the channel, that's the trapezoidal. Now, this whole place is a water body. What they did was, they said they got a court order, a court judgment. It's not in dispute. They now use that as an instrument to block the outlet of the water body from the town and villages. It's not a permanent structure.
Yes.
They just use sand, reclamation, to block the water body from discharging by way of what they said is the court. I'm not disputing their title. I'm not in here to do that. All I'm saying is you don't have the right to block water and you have no approval to do reclamation. So whoever says it's not about LAPCA, it's not a building standing there. It's just the irresponsibility of some land-owning families to go and do this, calling themselves AJ property or whatever it is, to just go and sell land. This is the water body they blocked. And now that this is happening, the water is moving out.
So is there also any punitive measures if we're saying that this family has acted irresponsibly and that they are blocking a primary, drainage outlet? Has there been any punitive measures? Is anyone going to take responsibility for giving these approvals? Because even for some of the buildings that we see or hear that are being built on canals and all of that, some of them have not gotten approvals. Are we saying that, you're able to mount a structure from ground up without any form of monitoring from the government?
Let me start by saying they've not even applied for any form of approval. Because to apply, you must apply for your drainage clearance and your environmental impact assessment. The reason why they have not applied is I'm not sure anybody will grant them an approval to do this. They know. So they have to come with policemen and civil defense men to protect the private land. So that is on the one leg of it. The second leg is when we get to the stage of approval, I'm not going to sit here and sit in judgment. I know for a fact that is Lagos Lagoon up there. They won't have the approval to do what they are doing. They won't. So that land will end up being a farmland at best. Because we are going to open up the channel to the lagoon and then the channel to the right to Ikota River. And I made it clear to them. So it's not just a test of will, it's a test of law and process. For those that are going to put structures on floodplains, for the first few months of my assuming office as the Commissioner for the Environment, I was name-tagged demolition man because I choose to move against the tide. And if you choose to do public service and do it well, you must develop a thick skin to do what is right.
And you step on many toes.
Don't even mind. So we keep removing those ones. And we will not stop removing them.
What of the people in the government that gave those people approval to
if they have approval,
all those illegal demolitions?
What we found out over time is they don't usually have approval. And I've called most of them out. If you have approval, take us to court. And I'm still challenging them. They don't go for approvals. What they do is they fly coordinates to mislead people and the public to subscribe to those fictitious things they are doing. They will tell you they don't have EIA, they don't need EIA, they will tell you they don't have drainage clearance. You can't go and build on the water plane without seeking drainage clearance. It's simple. But it is what it is. On our part, we've said to them, if there are people that are culpable within the system, the civil service structure in Lagos is so well structured and defined. There's what they call the PMB. Report whoever it is to the permanent secretary of that ministry, and then they will escalate to the HOS and set up a panel. It's not for me as a political appointee to get involved in that. But I know for a fact whoever is involved doesn't get away with it in Lagos State.
I'd like us to look at two things. My questions are in two ways. One, has your agency, your office, have you been able to engage with the real estate community on development? Because every time people are selling land, there's land here, you go online, people are saying buy this, buy that. Has your office, have you been able to call them, maybe have a summit or something and sit them down and say, listen, this is the structure of Lagos? Because it's one thing right now, I saw one agent and he said fingers are being pointed at them, but they know what they are doing. And you're here to say you're certain that they've not gotten the right documents.
And they follow the master plan.
Has there been a sit down to say, listen, this is where you can go, this is where you can't go? That's question one. Question two borders on the fact that, what is the issue with the coastal road? Do you think the coastal road is highly responsible for the flooding we're also seeing in Lekki? Because if you're driving towards, if you pass towards Marua and you're going down, you could see the flooding coming from the right more. So, two questions. One, has there been any sit down with the real estate community? Two, the coastal road, the EIA that has been asked for years on that coastal road, and there's proof that it wasn't given. Is it responsible for what we are going through? Is it a contributing factor?
Okay, let me start with the second question, the coastal road. There was a study carried out by the Nigerian Conservation Group, and the study concluded that by 2026, this year, if nothing is done, the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway will be wiped out by the Atlantic Ocean. So two things have saved that from happening. The Great Wall of Lagos. Eco-Atlantic. And then the coastal road has saved the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway and all the developments on that corridor from being wiped out by the Atlantic Ocean. So these are data-driven facts. Now, for every development also all over the world, there are usually issues that will blindside you. Not because you are too smart, but because they will blindside you. And then as you move, you have to fix them. In the course of the construction of the coastal road, I know they asked for the outlets from Lagos State government and the collectors on that axis, the primary channels on the axis, and how they connect into each other. And we handed that to them. And in fairness to them, as the construction is ongoing, even till now, they are still opening up those ducts and connection points to help ease the pressure. So all I can say is, you can't make the omelette without breaking an egg. So this inconvenience, I believe, will be fixed by the federal government. On our part as a state also, we are not folding our hands. This coastal road had opened up a leg of the state's infrastructure. So we are also supporting by helping put in place some collectors on that corridor to help ease the pressure on the citizens of the state. For the first one, engagement with agents is an ongoing thing, and it's also an interministerial engagement. Ministry of Housing, Ministry of Lands, and then Urban and Physical Planning, and the Ministry of Environment. We are collaboratively working together with the Ministry of Information and Strategy under Benga Motor Show to see how we can ease up this advocacy and messaging. But that will not take away the fact that people hear what they want to hear. People listen to what they want to listen to. We'll keep doing the advocacy. We keep doing the messaging. We keep saying to them, as a state, these are the policies we subscribe to. As a state, these are the things we believe we should be doing in this ecosystem. For instance, I know there's a building code in Lagos that says you can't do more than 60-40. When you build up 60, you have to give space for 40. Are they doing that? No. People are trying to make Lagos a concrete jungle. Everywhere is built up. That is also a recipe for flash flooding.
So who then bears the responsibility if everywhere is being built up?
It should be both ways.
Okay.
The citizens and the government.
How?
Good.
Are we going to see more demolitions?
No. They're giving you the building code. You've said this is the approval they gave you. Are you sticking to the approval? Let us start by being responsive and responsible as a people. You've approved, you've applied for something, and you went through the processes, and you paid, and you got the approval. Why must you go and doctor it on site? You have 1,000 square meters, for instance, build up 60% of it, keep 40% as greens and other stuff to allow for those things to be in your environment. For the quality of life for even you. But you choose to do 90% so you can make extra dough.
Okay, so what role does the government then play?
The government and its partners needs to up its own responsibility as a government. Those people that are on the field should be more responsive. Responsive in the sense that if you see this happening, don't wait for it to happen at the end. To complete the process, stop them. Seal up the place. Let them revert to what is in their original approval.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you were saying that, all I was thinking was, shouldn't we have a system where monitoring is happening whilst the building is being, It's a
continuous process.
Exactly.
Yes.
The continuous
in fact, the way it is for every stage of your building processes, they will come and see what you are doing. But
does that apply in Lagos?
Yes.
It does?
Lagos is number one on that.
So if that applies in Lagos, how do we then have this challenge where some people have
finished building and then...
You see, most of them we found out don't have approvals. They do it deliberately, and once they are caught, they realize they want to pay the fine. And that's why I differ from my colleagues. Let the consequences be clearly made and strong. If you build on a floodplain, for instance, I won't allow you remedy it. I'll have to remove it to restore it back to what it used to be. That is a strong message that you can make them feel the pain, and they won't do it sometime in future. But if you slap them on the wrist, like they usually find a way to do, most of them in the past, they will go and do it again and again. They will tell you they can make a call or two. But when they know those calls will not yield any result, they will fall in line. And that's why I say to people, let there be very strong consequences for bad behavior. And don't cherry-pick enforcement. The law that applies to that woman on the street should apply to that elite in court in Ikoyi or VI or Ikeja.
So that means it doesn't at the moment?
No. It does. It does. Without caring whose ox is God, it does.
Honourable Commissioner, let's talk about recently the governor and yourself did apologize for the state of waste management in Lagos, because we've seen PSPs not frequently removing waste from residential areas, and we've seen waste pile up mediums in different parts of the state. What led to this? What were the specific reasons why we have this situation? And how soon can we return to efficient waste collection and getting Lagos back to its clean state?
Okay, I apologized sometime last week. I think I said to Lagosians, I will not make excuses for Loma. And the apology was because the past few, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks, there had been a bit of a sloppy approach to waste collection and disposal. And it's a multifaceted kind of challenge. I will not dump it at the doorstep of the PSP operators. All over the world, it's a polluter pay policy. You pay for the waste you generate. How many people by data likes to pay for their waste in Lagos? We have over 448 PSP operators statewide. Yes, some routes have grown exponentially beyond what it was before now. And then Loma, on its part, as a regulator, needs to also intervene to cut away the waste in some areas, marketplaces, and on the median. But in the past 3-4 months, we found out that, one, the UNIOSUN Hostel infrastructure needs to be renovated, the access road. 2, some PSP operators, in fairness to them, not because of their fault, are challenged with respect to their operations. some of the fault will come from government. We capped the rates. Capping the rate means you can't charge people more than this rate. And then we're trying to give them interventions and grants to make up for it, like subsidies. But for how long you can do that, I don't know. So we said, let us open up this conversation. We can't shy away from it from 2022. The cost of diesel had gone up exponentially. Cost of vehicle materials and their maintenance and stuff. We've agreed that's ongoing. 3, we've also said to one another, let us be honest. Let us have a very honest conversation. Show me anywhere in the world where the linear waste system of pick and dump is sustainable. So we have to transit. In transition, you also need to understand there will be teething problems. And transition means you have to transit to a process where waste becomes a resource for wealth or a resource for energy. And that's what we're trying to do in Lagos. Are we there now? No, but we are on that path. We are like 60% on that path.
But did you not envisage the disruptions that will happen as a result of that conversion to waste?
That is not. I have given you the reason for what happened.
Yes.
UNIOSUN infrastructure being overwhelmed. We are opening up new angles to landfills at Badagry and in Ekpe. And then also people not paying and PSP operators holding back services.
But that's quite a distance from...
I'm coming. Just listen. You asked the question. If you are taking it to Badagry, for instance, we are paying the extra. It's part of what we have packaged for them. Whoever chooses to go to Badagry, this is extra. They're going to pay you for that extra mile you are going. So there will be an incentive to go that far. Now, this year, we commissioned the Ikosi Fruit Market Biodigester. For those that are familiar with the Ikosi Fruit Market, every fruit market around this corridor, fruits are perishable. Within 24 hours, the drains by the Ikosi Fruit Market is filled up. Our landfills are there with their products that have gone bad. So, in collaboration with the C40 groups, we set up this biodigester that now uses their waste products from the fruit to power them and give them light and then compost fertilizer from that place. On the other leg of it also, we're saying to a company from Africa, you've done this in a neighboring country, come and take off 4,250 metric tons of municipal solid waste a day and convert it to wealth. And we believe by December this year, we should commission that. As a total, we generate about 13,000 plus a day. That's humongous. If we start taking these things off and get value of them, we are reducing what ends up in the landfill. That's a long-term projection. Now, on the part of our combustible waste, Lafarge is using the combustible waste from Lagos to power their machines, and they've gone green with that. On the other leg of it also, we have a company from Netherlands that's going to do waste to energy. The total projection is, by the end of everything, reduce the quantum of waste that ends up in the landfill that we are opening up. But it's a process. So I'll say to Lagosians, we are in transit. But it doesn't also account for why people should take waste from their homes and dump them on the median. How do we explain that to one another in a reasonable society?
How was the punishment for that been going on?
If you are caught, they take you to court. And we're doing that virtually every day. The state has grown exponentially. But how do you explain somebody takes a waste from the home in a fanciful vehicle and you go and drop same on your way to work, on your way to church, on your way to mosque, on your way to a worshiping place, and you drop the waste on the median? How do you explain it in a reasonable society? In the same way, you can't explain why somebody goes to defecate on the median. You have eateries around you. You have 1,730 and still growing public toilets in the States. Why must it be on the median? What kind of a culture is that?
Now, talking about the median, and I think it's part of your intervention efforts, you recently launched an initiative called Waste Police. I would like you to speak more to that. And also, you did mention here that part of Loma's intervention is to clear the waste that we have on public roads and the median. How frequent should they clear those waste? Because they are ISO in different parts of the state. And also, could you also speak to us about the waste police and what it was?
Let me start with the waste police. Now, you see, waste is a culture. And to build that culture, you need to integrate different stratas of the society. We've engaged the market women. We are still engaging them. We are engaging the CDAs and CDCs at the community level. But we also know that people use public transport. 90% of our commercial transportation in Lagos are owned by these road unions across. We said, okay, let us even call them and say to them, people throw waste through your buses, through your taxis. They throw waste using your motor parks and then the bus stops. Kindly help us call them to order. Let us do this together. Like they say in Yoruba, I work on Beru Lori. You can't use one hand to lift a heavy load onto your head. So you have to call other stakeholders to be involved. And that is what that is about. They are not taking away the responsibility of Kai. No. But they are going to help you whistleblow, kind of.
Do they have enforcement authority?
No, they don't.
So they can't. URTW members can.
No, they can't. They can't.
And
but
that's
they can
been made
caution.
clear to them.
They can't. They know. They can caution. They can do advocacy. It's more like an advocacy thing. And that's what we're trying to do with that.
So
the second leg of the question is with respect to
the frequency, which
now,
they will clear.
Loma works 24/7 now, and they have to keep doing that. Thankfully also, and I'm going to thank the Osun State government, they're giving us the outlet to use one of their landfills. So we move the trucks there every day. And they work, we have a group, they work 24/7. No sleeping for anybody.
So does this mean, I mean, the average Lagosian now is watching. I'm sure you've seen those videos, and I know you have, because on your social media page, you're also very active. People's homes have been flooded, not just with water, but with dustbin, trashes, name them. Is Lagos State preparing for any epidemic as it stands? Because it's likely that in communities where you have flooding, and of course, when it's mixed with all sorts, we're expecting diseases to come up. Secondly, are we telling Lagosians to just hold on? What is the immediate solution, even though you've mentioned Osun State? And then this morning I heard the radio advert of don't dump refuse. And personally, Honorable, I laughed a bit because I felt that advert should have started running way back.
It's been running for over 2 years.
In how many stations? In how many?
I don't have
we don't
data.
have it here on News Central.
That is for your people an additional to look at, the PR of the ministry. Now, let me say this. Information is everything. And advocacy must keep going. You don't have to stop your advocacy. Even if you have other messages, let people know where you stand on every issue. When NIMET, for instance, gave us the data for the rainfall this year, we as a state came out to inform Lagosians and we started the advocacy to people living in low-lying areas that you have to move at this certain time because the rain this year will be excessive. And we never eat that from anybody. Secondly, you see, I've seen those videos and it speaks to what we are also saying to Lagosians. Please, no matter what, don't drop your waste in the drain, no matter what. Try not to also put your waste on the median. If you do, it's going to end up somewhere. That is the reality of the picture we're painting. I've seen videos where people, when it's raining, they take the waste from their homes and they go into the waterway and discharge. It will leave the front of your house, but it's going somewhere. I've seen a video from a neighboring country of a ton of waste on their waterways, on their drain, on the drain. How did we get here? It's about we taking personal responsibility. If, for instance, you pay for PSP operations and they are not coming, for God's sake, call them out, report them. We have them being reported, and the first thing we do is Loma cuts away to remedy. Then Loma now ask the PSP operator, they've not seen you here for a while. Why have you not done your work? And they've paid you. That's the way to operate it. If you don't do those things, we are going to just be struggling. But I said to our people, let us show leadership. Let us show we can fix this. And that's why we are working 24/7 around the clock.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, you spoke about, deniement warnings and how, as a result of deniement warnings, Nigerians had been informed. So the truth is, we're not really surprised, and that you had told people in the low-lying areas to move to, other areas in preparation. Some of the questions that we've received is in terms of how the government is supporting these people and what exactly the funds have been used for. We've received about 1.25 billion in ecological funds between January and May this year.
Lagos State?
Yes, according to data from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation.
No.
So how much have we received? And where would you say
the last I checked, Lagos had not received any money from ecological. So they should go and check that again. Okay. The last I checked.
Because I'm seeing here reports about monthly allocations.
That's FAC. FAC is not ecological.
I'm going to just, my internet is now messing up, because I did have it open here to state even the monthly allocations from January to June. My internet will
monthly allocations go to each state of the Federation as prescribed in the Constitution. And the states will determine what they want to use their FAC for.
Okay, so what we have here is data obtained from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation show that Lagos received 251.46 million naira in January, 186.09 million in February, 238.92 million naira in March, 299.57 million naira in April, and 277.67 million naira in May, bringing the total ecological fund allocation for the 5-month period to 1.253 billion naira.
Is it part of the FAC? That's what I'm asking.
So the report we have here is that it's the ecological fund, unless you're clearly saying that, Lagos State hasn't.
To the best of my knowledge, I am still saying it. We gave them data. They came from Abuja. We took them around areas where they have coastal erosions. And I know we've done our own submission. If it's fact, they tie ecological funds to projects. That is where it's done, to the best of my knowledge. They tie ecological funds to projects. That means if you...
Special intervention.
Yes, it's special intervention. It means if you, for instance, say, I want to fix a coastal erosion around Okwafa, the ecological fund will be tied to it. That's the way it works.
And this brings me to, just as a follow-up to that question, in terms of, just to follow up from what you said about the proverb that Owokonse Beru, we need collaboration and we need partnerships to, get Lagos to where it should be. Positive partnership. I mean, Lagos should have a special status. It's the economic heartbeat of the country, and looking at the population, millions of people coming into Lagos every day is quite overwhelming.
Airports will echo that to them.
You're just one individual. Your ministry is Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. You're the face. Everybody's tagging Tokunbo Wahab. Is there any sort of... Lagos State does have other officials at the federal level. You have representatives, you have you have senators. Is there any collaboration happening at the federal level to, mitigate some of these efforts? Because it should be a national issue, not just for Lagos, but it should be of concern to all Nigerians.
Let me start by thanking you for re-echoing what we had always said. Lagos needs a special status. Lagos is housing virtually everybody from every part of this country. Lagos is a microcosm of Nigeria. Name the tribe, the person will be in Lagos. But that is not a debate for today. Now, in fairness here, we're getting support and collaborations. We're just seeking much more, because we can't do this alone. We're stretching our infrastructure. We're a coastal state. We're exposed so badly. And but I believe something is being done, and it will be done as soon as possible.
Can you give us a timeline as to when, Lagos will go back to what it used to be like? And if you ask Lagosians, they would always look at the Fashola administration as, the golden period where Lagos was clean and all of that. When would we solve these teething problems of transitioning?
I believe by December we should start seeing remarkable improvements. We are in December, 4,250 of our municipal solid waste a day. We'll start moving from where we're picking from to the transfer loading stations and then the material recovery sites. Once that starts, the pressure eases, and I also believe by then we start decommissioning.
Is there any order to buy new dumpsters and trucks to evacuate?
Yes, about 140, 150 are being procured. The governor made the announcement himself. But those things are not things you find on the shelves. You have to wait for the process and then the construction to take place before you can bring them in.
Can we talk about dredging?
Yes.
I mean, if you take, for instance, let me pick one area on Lekki, Aja now. The road is...
Ado
Road. It's horrible. I mean, I have family members there and so on, especially on that axis. You cannot ply that route now because it's been taken over by dredging. It kind of like reminds me of what we talk about concerning the Niger Delta, where, of course, oil spill, and then, of course, communities ignore. It now becomes a menace to the community and the society. Is what Aja is facing now. That's just one. So dredging is a very huge concern. In your video, where you went there and then you saw police officers, it's quite similar in some parts of Lagos State, and that has begged for the question, who is really in charge? Is the commissioner in charge? Are the commissioners in charge? Are their offices in charge? Are they aware of these dredgings taking place in different parts of the state, which could ultimately also cause flooding, whether you like it or not? That's one. Two, are there compensations for those who have built their houses, they paid the exact tax levies, did everything correctly, but they are now suffering for the current state of the flooding? Are there compensations, maybe government relief funds?
Okay, let me start with the latter. Lagos does have a World Bank supports flood insurance policy. It was unveiled sometime this year, and we are making it available to Lagosians through the Ministry of SDG and Ministry of Finance. It's flood risk insurance. So if you have this, you can just approach my colleague in SDG, Dr. Orefini, and then Mr. Yomi Oluyomi, SDG and Finance, to support that. Now, let's come to the issue of dredging. If you've been familiar with Ado Road, if you were on that corridor 10 years ago.
I am.
Well paved.
I am, yes.
Interlockingly paved by the state government.
Yes.
However, some persons chose to use a part of the Badore Road to mine sand. It's sand mining. And then it started from little to little, and they will start moving out with their wet sand. The wet sand will be dropping water and sand on the road. And before you know it, they destroyed the whole stretch, which accounts for why whenever we desilt, we let it dry before we come to move. Or else we're going to destroy the infrastructure. I know we've had this debate over time in government. And I know there had been a stop order in some areas by the Ministry of Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources under Mr. Abiodun Ogunleye. I know there's a stop order. Now, they've also chosen to say to them, we have to re-audit. How did we get here? People go to Abuja before now and get a mining permit. But we've challenged that to say sand mining cannot be given to people without recourse to the state government that bears the burden. And that conversation is what we're having, and that's the authority of which we are pushing back. Now, we can't be a federating nation. And you go to Abuja, this is not gold. This is not lithium. This is sand. You are destroying the ecosystem. And we've taken a position as a state to say, no, you have to come back to the appropriate ministry in the state to see and bring documents to show if we can even allow you mine sand. Prior to this time and for decades, the process had always been to go to Abuja, get a mining license, which is generic, and then you come and start sand mining in the state. Right. And now you've destroyed most part of the state. Ado Road is still better. Go to some artists on the Ibeju corridor. you will not be happy.
Honorable Commissioner, we're almost out of time. We have less than 2 minutes. They also criticize your response on X. You're very active on X. And they say that when you said that people who will push an agenda, that they're those who are capitalizing on this to push
I'm still re-emphasizing it. I don't owe them an apology.
They say that you're politicizing the pain of Nigeria.
They are politicizing it because they are dog-whistling the government. Look, you see, you can't cyberbully me to start with. I would say it is a no-no. But if you engage us constructively, I will give you a constructive feedback. But if you think because I'm a public servant, you can cyberbully me and I will run away from you. No. It's aura for aura. It's not, there's nothing. I won't run away from that. I won't run away from that. If you engage, I will engage you constructively. Fact for fact, data for data, I like debates.
Okay.
But if you choose to politicize, how do you expect people going to do AI videos to say it's Lagos that is flooding? What agenda is that?
Okay.
Or how do you say to people that go to Ghana, import pictures or videos of flooding in Accra to say it's Lagos? I should fold my hands and not call them out.
Okay.
Or people that say bring video from Anambra, oh, this is Lagos. I should not call them out.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner,
that would be irresponsible on my part.
Engage in a dominance.
As quickly as possible, is there an SOS? How do people who are experiencing intense flooding, PSP refusing to collect their waste, is there a number for them to reach out? How should they report?
Once they go to our website and that of Loma, the numbers are there and they can always report. And for me, I can give them my own number. I'm active day and night. I'll call whoever is involved out. 0822 30 42478 is my WhatsApp number.
Okay, all right. So you've heard it live from the Commissioner himself. You report and he will take it up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
I look forward to seeing more collaboration with the government, with private individuals. We want a better Lagos for us. Like we always say, thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtain today on Breakfast Central. Thank you for your time with us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. Jasiri comes in right next. Thank you for your time. See you again. Bye-bye.